Hey guys, I'm Brittany Hughes. You're watching MRTV, and this is your reality check. Well, surprise, surprise, the NFL is now considering requiring all players to stand during the national anthem. Now, this comes after the league already changed a rule this week, allowing teams whose players don't even show up for the anthem to face punitive measures, including the loss of their draft picks. Funny how the NFL didn't seem nearly so concerned with players taking a knee just a few weeks ago, but that was before it started hitting them in the wallet. Since then, tens of thousands of football fans have burned their jerseys, boycotted games, walked out of stadiums, booed players who took a knee, and lit up social media with their disgust. On TV, NFL ratings have tanked. Monday Night Football reached a record low this week, dropping a full 17% from the week before. A new poll from the Winston Group shows that NFL football is now America's least favorite sport. Maybe that's because most Americans aren't willing to tune in just to watch their favorite athletes crap all over their country. So now the league is backtracking. Commissioner Roger Goodell issued a letter to all NFL teams urging players to stand for the anthem, saying that to not do so hurts the unity of the sport. Funny how he misspelled bank account. Which shows us exactly two things. One, the NFL does not care about this nation. They care about their bottom line, and their respect for the servicemen and women who fight for their rights begins and ends with how it impacts their wallet. But it also proves that ultimately, the real power lies with the people. The NFL, Hollywood, the news media, universities, all of these industries are dependent on us, our support, our viewership and attendance, our money. So are you sick of all the America hating? All the social justice grandstanding, all the lectures from Hollywood hypocrites and college professors and media pundits, all the insults directed towards decent and patriotic Americans who value their freedom, but you feel completely powerless to do anything about it? Sure you can. Just ask the NFL. And that's your Reality Check America. Subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay sane out there. Hey guys, I'm Brittany Hughes. You're watching MRTV, and this is your reality check. Perhaps one of the greatest examples of two-faced hypocrisy in this country are leftists who hate guns because they say that they're a threat to innocent life, but ironically still support the barbaric practice of abortion. All last week, liberals raged against Americans' constitutional right to own and bear firearms, then turned right around and fought for the right to intentionally terminate a third trimester baby. So here's what's really interesting. Roughly 11,000 people die annually in gun-related homicides in this country, roughly 0.003% of the entire U.S. population. Abortion, on the other hand, ends the lives of nearly 1 million Americans every single year. About 13,000 of these abortions are late-term procedures in the third trimester, meaning a nearly fully formed child that could likely survive outside of the womb is poisoned before being torn limb from limb and pulled out of its mother in pieces. That is what happens every single day in 2017 America, supported by liberals who, when it comes to guns, supposedly care about life. The left doesn't care about life. The left cares about their own political agenda. They're all about defending the innocent and the helpless when it comes to grabbing law-abiding citizens' guns, but not when it applies to defending an innocent preborn child who happens to be inconvenient, or a girl, or a baby with special needs. Where is the left's love of innocent life when children with their own distinct DNA codes and heartbeats are being born in toilets or sucked out of their mother's wombs in countless abortion clinics across this country, once every 97 seconds? Where is the left's devotion to defenseless humans when Planned Parenthood execs get caught on film laughing about selling eyeballs and organs from dismembered children? Half the country did not even know what a bump stock was before last Monday, and now you would think that they were the deadliest epidemic since the plague. But hundreds of thousands of living, moving, perfectly healthy children are being knowingly torn apart and tossed in dumpsters every day in this country, and somehow that gets a pass? So here's the bottom line. If you get upset about firearms that you can't even accurately describe, but you support the mass genocide of more than 60 million children, you don't love life. So stop pretending that you do whenever it's politically convenient. And that's your Reality Check America. Subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay sane out there. Hey guys, I'm Brittany Hughes. You're watching MRTV, and this is your reality check. So once again, displaying the emotional capacity of a 3-year-old stuck at a DMV, Antifa is now calling for Deface Columbus Day, urging a nationwide act of vandalism against statues of Christopher Columbus. Now, vandals have already destroyed or defaced Columbus statues in St. Louis, Washington, D.C., Detroit, New York, and Richmond, just to name a few. Anti-history crusaders like the ones in Los Angeles have even renamed Columbus Day Indigenous Peoples Day, calling Columbus a genocidal maniac who doesn't deserve to be celebrated. Now, of course, these are the same folks who support dismembering pain-capable infants in the womb, think that Che Guevara should be canonized, and prefer North Korea to a nation run by Donald Trump. But I guess we'll just pave right over all of that intellectual dishonesty. What's more, the vast majority of these so-called social justice warriors probably couldn't tell you 3 basic facts about Christopher Columbus. They might tell you that he enslaved the native people when he arrived in the Caribbean, but they won't tell you that the natives also slaughtered thousands of European settlers, and oh, by the way, were killing and enslaving one another long before the evil white man ever showed up. And anyone who tells you that all of the natives were nothing but sweet, fluffy bunnies is either stupid or lying. They won't mention that the West's introduction of things like horses and new farming techniques made the Americas a better place for everyone, including the natives. They won't talk about the guts that it took for explorers to set off on a sea that many at the time thought was flat, with no promise of security, success, or safe return, or how this expansion paved the way for all of the comforts that we enjoy today. Do you like roads, science, democracy? Yeah, all Western stuff. And if you don't like it, feel free to cancel your light bill, turn off your iPhone, sit in the dirt and gnaw on some raw corn for a while, and let me know how that works out for you. See, we build statues to people like Christopher Columbus not because they were perfect, nobody is, that's not the point. It's because they were important to our story, which is a lot more than I can say for some whiny brats who run around in masks and think that vandalizing public property is a solid way to make a point. And that's your reality check, America. Subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay sane out there. Hey guys, I'm Brittany Hughes. You're watching MRTV, and this is your reality check. Former First Lady Michelle Obama said on Wednesday that any woman who voted against Hillary Clinton voted against her own voice. Yeah, same old riff, same old tired excuses. It's all women's fault because they didn't know what was good for them. So as one of those many women who did not vote for Hillary Clinton, let me spell this out very simply so all of those harebrained liberal sexists might understand. I am so freaking sick of leftists telling me as a woman what I should say, do, think, believe, and who I should vote for. I'm so tired of feminist liberals and so-called pro-woman organizations like Planned Parenthood or the stupid Women's March telling me to lockstep with their feminist line, because you know what? It's not feminist to think that women are so stupid, so inept, so incapable that we can't figure out who we should vote for without someone holding our hand. I am sick of being told that just because I didn't support a lying, race-baiting, flip-flopping crook, that I have somehow betrayed my own gender. And I am sick of the left demanding my vote, not because they've earned it, but because I have lady parts and they think that I owe them. Bull. So look, I don't care. You want to vote for a liar because she's a woman? Fine. You want to stomp around in a pink hat and your cardboard vagina, ranting about how the future is nasty? Go ahead. I'm not the one who has to look like a moron. That's you, so have at it. But stop telling me what I should think. Stop telling me what candidates I should support. And for the love of all that is holy, stop pretending that the left is the single united voice for all women. Millions of women like me support the right to life for unborn children. Millions of us realize that the gender wage gap is a big fat lie dredged up to con us into thinking we're victims. We're not falling for it. And guess what? Millions of us did not vote for Hillary Clinton. And we don't feel bad about it. Get over it. And that's your reality check, America. Like us on Facebook and Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube page, and stay sane out there. Hey guys, I'm Brittany Hughes. You're watching MRTV, and this is your reality check. So unlike most of the rest of the country, I didn't have too much time to worry about all the spoiled little athletes throwing temper tantrums on a football field yesterday. Why? Because while multimillionaire athletes were busy disrespecting the very nation that affords them the freedom to protest in the first place, my family and thousands of others were prepping for time apart from our loved ones so that they can go risk their lives for that very freedom. We're being asked to give up our husbands, our wives, our brothers and sisters, our fathers and our mothers, all in defense of our nation, and even the rights of those who would abuse and exploit it. And there are many Americans across this nation who have sacrificed far more than even my family has to defend others' right to insult the nation they gave everything for. And that's why we stand. We stand for the national anthem in honor of those whose knees have been blown off on foreign battlefields. We stand for the mother whose legs won't hold her up because her son just came home in a flag-draped coffin. There is a reason that the only Steelers player to walk out of the locker room and observe the national anthem on Sunday was a former Army Ranger who served 3 tours in Afghanistan, because he gets it. He paid the price for his teammates to act like whiny, self-entitled brats. So here's a thought. If you are so disgusted with this country that you would disrespect the national anthem before a game held even in a foreign country, maybe don't come back. If you are so concerned about privilege, forfeit your $11 million paycheck. Don't publicly insult our country while still reaping the benefits it offers you. Don't take millions of dollars from fans to buy your fancy cars and your multi-million-dollar mansions, then turn around and flip half of them off. You're that embarrassed to be an American? Okay, take a knee, then take a hike. Let it cost you something to insult the very nation that guarantees your right to protest. Because God knows it costs families like mine a lot to defend it. And that's your Reality Check, America. Subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay sane out there. Hey guys, I'm Brittany Hughes. You're watching MRTV, and this is your Reality Check. According to a new survey that pretty much tells us what we already knew, most Americans think that Hillary Clinton should probably just go away now. A study conducted this week by Rasmussen showed that a majority, 61% of polled Americans said that it is time for Hillary to retire. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200,000 to keep yammering on about how it was your turn to be president because you happen to have lady bits. See a light anywhere ahead in your political tunnel? Walk towards it. In all fairness, it's been a rough road for the kinda almost, but definitely not president. So confident was she of her impending win against Donald Trump last November that she plunked down over $1 million for a house in her swanky Chappaqua neighborhood so that her staff could have a place to crash after she became Madam President. When the final vote tallies came rolling in, she didn't even have a concession speech planned. Unable to let her embarrassing loss go, she is now going on a book tour, where you can purchase a view from the cheap seats, which is pretty much all of them, to listen to Clinton whine about the 8,472 things that she blames for her election loss other than, well, her own dumb self. She's too busy sobbing to the ladies on The View and whining to every broken-hearted reporter who will listen to her to even notice that Chuck Schumer even says it's probably time for her to stop. But she persisted. Clinton sticking to her guns, not literally, of course, because guns are evil unless they're being carried by your 45 taxpayer-funded bodyguards. She still maintains that she's convinced the Trump team colluded with Russia to steal her shot at the throne, saying that while there's admittedly no proof that such a collusion actually occurred, she simply knows, deep down in her gut, that that's exactly how it all went down. Kind of like how she knew she would win the election. Oh, wait. And that's your Reality Check, America. Subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and unlike poor Hillary Clinton, try to stay sane out there. Hey guys, I'm Brittany Hughes. You're watching MRTV, and this is your Reality Check. 16 years ago today, 2,606 people were killed when 2 planes slammed into the World Trade Center in New York City. Another 125 died when a 3rd plane hit the Pentagon. 40 more were killed when hijacked Flight United 93 crashed in a Pennsylvania field. We all sat there glued to our box TVs watching the whole nightmare, most of us completely helpless to do a thing. Do you remember our reaction 16 years ago today? In the months after 9/11, there was barely a car on the road that did not have an American flag bumper sticker. Today, We can't even fly Old Glory at a baseball game without someone getting offended. 16 years ago, we watched proudly as a group of New York City firefighters raised an American flag over the rubble at Ground Zero. Today, left-wing rioters burn American flags in the streets. 16 years ago today, millions of Americans were introduced to Islamic extremism for the very first time. Today, you can't even say the words Islamic extremism without being accused of bigotry and hate. 16 years ago today, our nation was attacked by 19 al-Qaeda terrorists, all of whom were foreign, and at least 3 of which were here illegally. Now, at the time, we were outraged. But today, if you dare to say that immigrants should be thoroughly vetted, that foreign visitors must obey our visa laws, and that illegal aliens should be removed, you're a hateful, xenophobic Nazi. 16 years ago today, we as a nation promised that we would never forget 9/11. But we did. We forgot. Every time some bleeding heart liberal apologizes for Islamic violence, every time a sanctuary city leaves us open to foreign threats by deliberately ignoring our immigration laws, every time some attention-whoring athlete or overpaid celebrity gets famous off insulting a nation that has given them so much, we forget. 16 years ago today, 2,977 innocent people died in a terrorist attack on U.S. soil, and we forgot. And it is high time we started remembering. May God bless those who lost loved ones on 9/11, whose hearts still ache every single year on this day. And may God, in His mercy, bless the United States of America. Hey guys, I'm Brittany Hughes. You're watching MRC TV, and this is your reality check. So a Facebook post went viral this week accusing Donald Trump of personally orchestrating Hurricane Irma to kill all the Black and Hispanic people in Miami because he's racist. And no, unfortunately, I'm not kidding. Go look it up. Someone actually said that. Now, this is obviously an extreme example. It takes a special kind of stupid to think that any president could physically control a hurricane to kill all the people that he supposedly doesn't like. But it's certainly not the first time that someone on the left has politicized a natural disaster. They did it all last week with Harvey. Liberal pundits ignored Melania Trump feeding disaster victims and instead focused on her shoes. Salon accused Trump of rooting for the hurricane. Politico insulted all of Texas as being toothless backwater conservative hicks. A professor in Florida was fired after he tweeted that Texans deserved the storm because they didn't vote for Hillary. Tens of thousands of Americans were still digging themselves out from underneath piles of rubble and half-submerged cars, and lefty activist groups like the Texas Organizing Project were already shamelessly exploiting the devastation to raise money for social justice crusades. What should have been all about finding common humanity became about politics before the rain had even stopped falling. And now we're looking down the barrel of another hurricane, one that threatens to be even worse than the last. How long do you think it'll take for liberals to twist this storm into yet another political soapbox? People who find themselves injured, displaced, and traumatized in the wake of a natural disaster deserve our compassion and assistance, without being used as pawns in the country's political game. And as for the rest of us, we have a very simple job: help, support, and pray. And for just one moment, maybe lay aside all of the political crap and just be human beings. And yes, this goes for all of you out there who've decided that being a decent person falls underneath insult Trump on your to-do list, because this is not about you and your political opinions, you self-absorbed jackhole. And that's your reality check, America. Subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay sane out there. Hey guys, I'm Brittany Hughes. You're watching MRC TV, and this is your reality check. In an op-ed published in a Louisville newspaper, Chanel Helm, a self-proclaimed Black Lives Matter organizer, is now demanding that white people give up their houses to black people, rebudget their finances so they can give all their money to black people, and will their inheritance to black people. She claims we owe black families all of our stuff because, well, we only earned it through our white privilege anyway, and it's our payment for centuries of oppression. Of course, Helm does not see the incredible irony in demanding that white people financially support black people as a way of ditching their privilege. After all, what is more white supremacist than telling black folks that they're too stupid, weak, and lazy to take care of themselves, and that they need white people to hand over our houses, car keys, and checkbooks to help put food on their table? Not only is this a stupid and ignorant assumption that all white people are rich, it's also an incredible insult to the millions of Black Americans who've worked very hard and made incredible sacrifices for their own personal success, and who take care of their families just fine without needing a handout from all of us privileged palefaces. There is a reason that many Americans have absolutely no interest in removing monuments to Confederate generals and the Founding Fathers, and it has nothing to do with a bunch of gap-toothed rednecks running around with rebel flags and screaming that the South will rise again. It's because most people are smart enough to know that for race-baiting shrews like Helm, nothing will ever be good enough. So here's my message right back to this whining self-entitled brat who thinks I should give up what I have worked hard to earn for those barrel-bottom few who are too lazy to earn it themselves. Come and take it. And that's your reality check, America. Subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay sane out there.
You're invited to the best party in Washington, D.C. all year. It's the MRC's 30th anniversary, and over 1,000 conservatives, including Brent Bozell, Brigitte Gabrielle, Molly Hemingway, Rush Limbaugh, Mark Meadows, Greg Mueller, Chris Plant, Joe Piscopo, Cal Thomas, and many more will gather for an evening of eating, mingling, and laughing at the liberal media.
It's the big one, and you don't want to miss it.
Hey guys, I'm Brittany Hughes. You are watching MRC TV, and this is your reality check. So the United Nations apparently thinks that we need to get our racial tensions under control, so much so that this week, the UN's Racism Committee actually issued a formal warning regarding the United States and our alleged neo-Nazi problem. Here's what they said. We are alarmed by the racist demonstrations with overtly racist slogans, chants, and salutes by white nationalists, neo-Nazis, and the Ku Klux Klan, promoting white supremacy and inciting racial discrimination and hatred. The UN's Racism Committee has issued only 6 other formal warnings in the past decade to countries including Iraq and Nigeria, and now, apparently, us. Now, this is the same UN, mind you, that recently voted to allow Saudi Arabia to sit on its Women's Commission, essentially turned a blind eye to the Rwandan genocide, excuses Palestinian terrorists, condemns Israel for occupying its own homeland, and has been utterly useless while Bashar al-Assad murders his own people. Now, after all of that, they have the audacity to say they're concerned about the rise of white supremacists in our country after Charlottesville. Now, of course, the UN issued no such warning when Black Lives Matter was burning down half of Ferguson, Baltimore, and Milwaukee. They said nothing when 5 cops were shot to death in Dallas by a racist, white-hating vigilante. They haven't condemned Antifa for smashing innocent people in the face with Coke bottles for their political beliefs. But a few skinheads show up with tiki torches and suddenly the international community is all about human rights. Well, I would tell you exactly where the UN can shove their stupid and useless little freak out, but it wouldn't be polite, so I'll just leave it at this. We are the United States of America, still the freest nation on earth, and current internal issues aside, we don't need to take warnings from a bunch of irrelevant hypocrites who snuggle up to countries that punish rape victims, but say that we've got an international crisis because a couple of skinheads have made some racket. And maybe the UN should remember that the next time they need us to stroke a check. And that's your reality check, America. Subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay sane out there.
You're invited to the best party in Washington, D.C. all year. It's the MRC's 30th anniversary, and over 1,000 conservatives, including Brent Bozell, Brigitte Gabrielle, Molly Hemingway, Rush Limbaugh, Mark Meadows, Greg Mueller, Chris Plant, Joe Piscopo, Cal Thomas, and many more will gather for an evening of eating, mingling, and laughing at the liberal media.
It's the big one, and you don't want to miss it.
Hey guys, I'm Brittany Hughes. You're watching MRC TV, and this is your reality check. Before the final tiki torch had flamed out in Charlottesville last weekend, left-wing activists were already demanding the removal of all of our nation's Confederate statues and memorials. Protesters toppled a monument of a Confederate soldier in Durham. Baltimore spinelessly took down its Confederate statues by the dark of night on Tuesday. Yeah, that's real brave. Some are even calling for the removal of Confederate statues at Gettysburg. And the list goes on. And these social justice warriors say they will not be satisfied until every reminder of oppression has been erased from memory. So let's say that we do. Let's say we tear down all the Confederate statues and gravestones and flags, all gone. What next? Are we going to tear down the White House? I mean, that was built and staffed by slaves for years. A pastor in Chicago is already demanding that the city rename its George Washington Park because Washington owned slaves. What about Mount Rushmore? It's got slave owners on it. Are we going to blow that to smithereens too? When do we start burning all of the offensive books? I mean, have you read Mark Twain? And all the movies about slavery or battles with Native Americans? What about those? What about paintings? What about graves? See, it will never be good enough. Because the truth is, this actually is not about Confederate statues. It's not about the Washington Monument or a park named after a 250-year-old dead guy who happened to own slaves. This isn't even about the left being offended. This is about those on the left who want to be offended. They actively seek it out, and no one will ever tear down enough statues or rip up enough flags to satisfy them. They don't want to be satisfied. They want to be angry. They wouldn't know what to do if they weren't. Now, if reasonable people want to come to the table and have a rational discussion about how we can help heal the racial divides in our nation, then I and millions of other Americans would welcome that conversation. But I am not going to bend over backwards to appease some whining idiots who have already decided to hate me no matter what I do. And that's your Reality Check, America. Subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay sane out there. Hey guys, I'm Brittany Hughes. You are watching MRTV, and this is your Reality Check. Over the weekend in Charlottesville, Virginia, a relatively small group of crazy white supremacists crawled out of their gutters and paraded through the streets displaying their depraved idiocy for the entire world to see. And here's a video from Sunday night when a journalist was assaulted during an anti-white supremacy protest in Richmond, although that probably didn't make it very far up your news feed. Now, this is not the first time we have seen fanatics use violence to make their point. Remember Ferguson? How about Baltimore, Milwaukee? Here's Portland and Berkeley, D.C. All riots by left-wing extremists who think that throwing Molotov cocktails and lighting cars on fire is free speech. Yet the left swept all this violence under the rug like these guys just got a little too emotional. So here's the deal. What happened in Charlottesville was despicable. Racial hatred has no place in the heart of a decent person, and no decent person is defending it. But you can't sit there in your Che Guevara t-shirt ranting about Nazis, then get all Twitter happy whenever a cop gets shot or a Republican congressman takes a bullet in the gut from a Bernie Sanders supporter. And not just because it makes you a raving hypocrite, but because it fuels the hatred on both sides. The more the left turns a blind eye to the violence of the Black Lives Matter movement, the more crazy white supremacists feel empowered. And if you keep calling everybody a racist all day long, eventually the real racists are going to show up, like Beetlejuice. So for the majority of us not living in Nutville, this really is not hard. Nazis suck, we fought a whole war over it. Antifa sucks, the KKK sucks, so does Black Lives Matter. They're two sides of the same racist coin, and we need to start calling them out for the violent losers they are, no matter what side they claim to be a part of. So the next time Black Lives Matter decides to burn down half a neighborhood, I expect the left to be just as outraged as we all were last weekend. Because if you want to condemn hate, you have to condemn all of it. And that's your Reality Check, America. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube page, and stay sane out there. Hey guys, I'm Brittany Hughes for MRTV, and this is your Reality Check. So Canada has a new little illegal immigration problem, and apparently it's all our fault. Reports say that aliens are fleeing the United States into Canada because they're afraid of being deported. Canada is having to send soldiers to their southern border to handle the so-called crisis. They say it's been so overwhelming that they've had to use their old Olympic Stadium as a temporary housing base. Estimates say that as many as 250 illegal aliens are flooding into Montreal every single day, and it's all Trump's fault. 250 a day. You know how many we catch at the Mexican border coming into America every day? About 600. And that's with the giant drop in illegal immigration we've seen since Trump took office. Back in the Obama era, border agents were catching as many as 1,500 a day. And we've been doing it for years. The United States has the single most generous immigration system in the entire world, and that includes illegal aliens, who we have taken in by the millions at our borders, allowed to overstay their visas and granted amnesty even when it violated federal law. We've educated their children at taxpayer expense. We've paid for their health care and their food stamps. The average foreign-born household in the United States uses up 40% more in government welfare than the average native-born family, and we bear that. And we have gotten nothing but scorn for our trouble, sitting here stroking blank checks while the whole world wags its self-righteous finger in our face and accuses us of not doing enough. You know what our immigration officials were doing last week? Rounding up 32 criminal aliens in Long Island who've been convicted of sex crimes. One guy was a 24-year-old man from El Salvador who was convicted of sexually abusing a 4-year-old. That is who we have coming into our country illegally. So no, I don't really feel bad about Canada's little immigration crisis. God knows no one's ever felt bad about ours except us because we're the one footing the bill for it. So welcome to the club, Canada. T-shirts in the mail. And that's your reality check, America. Subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay sane out there. Hey guys, I'm Brittany Hughes. You are watching MRTV, and this is your reality check. So new polls put President Donald Trump's approval rating at a dismal 37%. A detail the left-wing media and all the Trump haters seized upon this week in their ongoing effort to lick their festering wounds and remember the good old days of the Obama administration. So now seems like a good time to remind them that Trump's poll numbers absolutely sucked before the election too. And every single one of them turned out to be wrong. On November 8th, CNN gave Hillary Clinton a 91% chance of winning the election, and the next day, we all woke up to a big old map of the United States that looked like this. So now here are a few facts that aren't based on polls, they're based on data. Since President Trump took office, illegal immigration at the southwest border has dropped more than 75%. More than 10,000 superfluous federal positions have been chopped, including 500 from the shady Veterans Affairs Office. 860 federal regulations have been suspended or axed altogether. In fact, according to the Washington Examiner, for every one regulation that the Trump administration has created, they've gotten rid of 16. There are 1.1 million fewer Americans on food stamps now than there were 6 months ago. Job creation is surpassing all estimates. The unemployment rate is at a 16-year low, and the stock market is hitting record highs. Now, of course, the left says that this has nothing to do with Trump, but of course, if jobs were tanking and the stock market had crashed, you can sure as heck bet that they would be blaming him. Now, we've got a lot of work to do. This has not been perfect. Healthcare coverage is a huge mess. We have got taxes to cut. But to suggest that the past 7 months have been an unmitigated national disaster just because Gallup asked a few thousand people what they think is stupid and untrue. So I'm going to stick with my data, and the left can keep their polls. They haven't been much use lately anyway. And that's your reality check, America. Subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay sane out there.